Hello everyone, Cambear Run here, coming to you from the floor of my living room because my current recording table has all of my Warhammer paints and figurines on it, which I need to move at some point over the next couple of months. Which, noting about that, development update for FM25 has been released, and I think we need to go through it because there's some very, very important things of note. So, I'm going to bring up the page, and we're going to go through it together. So, first up, the development update for Football Manager 25. Obviously, there's a thing about all of the FIFA E World Cup. They've done Football Managers that. I think there's a couple of major Football Managers were in there representing England. They were knocked out in the semi-final. The winner was Indonesia, and Germany runners up. So that was fine. Congratulations to them. So here's the important part. So I'm going to read this aloud. We previously stated we would be confirming FM25's release date at the beginning of September, with pre-orders starting at the same time, closely followed by our gameplay rollout period. Firstly, we've had to shift the announcement of FM25 to the end of September. The gameplay focus period will follow soon thereafter. Our target launch date has moved accordingly and is now scheduled for late November rather than our usual early November slot. So normally what happens is in the middle of October, 2 weeks before the full release of the game, you get the FM Open Beta. So I'm guessing that's probably going to come out either the beginning or the middle of November. So you'll end up with a later start period for the beta, later start period for the release date. That actually works for me. I have started a new job as of last month. Gives me a little time where I need to go to them and say, hey, can I get a couple of days off? It also is helpful because I want to change the room where I record in. I'm making a lot of changes to it, which I'm still in the middle of doing. There's going to be a display that's going to be behind me relating to a sort of football rate paraphernalia. I will mention a little bit about that at the end of the video. And I also need to kind of get a fresh desk for the laptop because where I currently record, I'm trying to get that as a Warhammer painting table. I will provide a picture slash maybe do a small thing about that. In fact, give me a second. Okay, I'm recording through my phone here. As you can see, like I've turned the entire table where I usually record everything into a painting station. You can see all of the corn blood letters and everything I've painted. I think I don't paint is this. This guy was painted a long, long time ago, but I've done all of these. I just need to do that one last blood crusher, I think it's called there. But otherwise, yeah, I've basically turned this whole thing into painting this painting table into a miniature area. I'm gonna try if I just flip the thing round where the flag is. I'm going to try and install a desk like down. You weren't supposed to see that yet. Turn a desk area down here. Once I move this drawers and move this table into the living room. So yeah, that's going to be a fun. I'm in the middle of trying to do that. Back to sitting on the floor in the living room. So as you can see, all of the figurines and paints and everything are on there as well. So I want to be able to move that table out of the way, and then I'm going to get something else installed in there, hopefully a little desk, like a proper desk to put the laptop on. So I do appreciate all of the extra time I've been given. It does mean I have to try and find something to do in the way of content, because I don't want to leave, I've already been gone since I think I did the Marvel's Rivals video at the beginning of, end of July, roughly. I don't want to end up with disappearing for about a couple of months. That will be mucho annoying. I've already been away long enough. So, right. So, the FM25 development cycle has been challenging for the whole team. We knew that moving the entire game to the Unity engine was going to be a complex endeavor. As we've gotten deeper into the process and gained learnings, it's fair to say it's been trickier than we've originally anticipated. The entire dev team has been challenged in a myriad of new ways, and are doing an incredible job in the process. I'm excited to eventually share our hard work with you, but we need a little more time before we can do that. As I outlined in June's blog, I have to admit I didn't read that, we've consistently held ourselves accountable to the same three core questions. Would we do it in the same way if we had our time again? Would we have done this at all? Do we have the time required to do this to the highest possible standard in our first cycle of a new era? The challenges we've encountered in the development process over the last couple of months have led us to make another difficult decision around game content. International management will not be a playable mode in FM25, FM25 console, FM25 touch. Now, I'm going to come up back to all of this about the development cycle and the issues they faced a little bit later. So, more of the challenges, I touching on the international management, I can understand why they've done it, because they've had to learn it from scratch. They've had to make a few sacrifices. They are adding entirely new modes as well. I think for me, I did international management once in FM22. I took over the England job in my save after I went from Werder Bremen to Inter Milan to England job. I know a lot of people have complained about how international management is not very good. I've not really had a lot of experience with it myself, but I know the issues are there. The one experience I did have, obviously there were some problems over the training and tactics, because you're obviously selecting people every once in a while. I think if they aren't going to be able to do it fully to the highest standard or actually make improvements to it, um, I think I can understand why they do it. I know some people are unhappy. I think just people are going to have to wait to do the build San Marino, like hold off on a year's cycle when they want to do their San Marino build to the top. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. The only thing I ever see people doing with International Manager on YouTube is they take the smaller nations and build them up. I was potentially planning to do one of those sort of once the main cycle dies down, but I guess I'm not going to be able to do it. Coming off the back of a summer tournament football, obviously they've really looked at like what's happened, where it's going wrong. It is kind of obviously they've come off the back of the Euro 2024. It is interesting to see how that will work in game then, because if you have no international management, obviously there'll be players who will be going away for countries. You'll still be having tournaments, but I think anything could happen because there's maybe not the same level of database in the international management rather than versus club data. Yeah, we consider only 6% of all FM24 PC saves have used the mode. Basically, people who are unhappy are it's been considered the people who are unhappy are the 5.6% who they like to do in the international mode, and they're really unhappy it's been taken away this year. Look, guys, the building up San Marino and Aura, all minnow nation around the world, you can give it a cycle off, yeah. And then when it comes back, hopefully in FM26, it'll be absolutely amazing. And it'll actually work. So yeah, so rather than delay FM25 even further, so I can see them releasing an update in the future, adding international management back in if they can get it to work. So there is that. However, international management, all right, yeah. So it is going to be on FM25 mobile. So it's a different different development. Okay. International mode will return in a much more feature-rich. So they're not going to add it in a patch then. It's just straight up going to be FM26. Okay. I have to admit, I'm reading this for the first time as well. I only know some of the things. So I've read all the tweets and the blog posts. Right. So what will be exciting here for international football? The World Cup expanded for obviously the 48 teams. It will return as part of the base game. No DLC. While difficult, these decisions will be made for the good of the game. Yeah. So yeah, they're cutting international football because otherwise they're just going to release in a broken state. Again, this is all to make sure they hit their release time of late November. In recent weeks, I've also taken the step to free up more of my time to focus solely on development and supporting the wider team. Of our core studio values is consider the bigger picture, and what's most important right now is focusing on FM25. I mentioned in June, obviously this is all Miles speaking, that I'd be speaking at the Unite conference in Barcelona as part of the keynote. While we still have an FM presence there, I will not be making the trip because I need to concentrate on so they won't be attending the Tokyo Game Show either. So Miles and the team are staying behind to really work on FM25. Can appreciate that. It's obvious that Miles has sacrificed quite. It sounds like Miles has sacrificed quite a bit to make sure he's there to oversee the project. Gonna be a bit of a problem if it doesn't release that well. So an update to our player profiles. When we begin our gameplay rollout, one of the areas I'm really looking forward to sharing our work on women's football. As you know, it's been a long-term project, and for us, one of the biggest things we've done in recent times outside of the move to Unity. Throughout the process, we've been laser-focused on introducing women's football to FM in the most authentic way possible. We've applied that thinking to everything we've done, as we generally do with all the areas of design and development. From a gameplay perspective, being able to move seamlessly between managing men's and women's football clubs and vice versa in one world, one ecosystem, and no more priority. But that's forced to consider how various game worlds aspects are currently portrayed. As such, we can share a change we've made to all player profiles. A player's weight will no longer be visible. Give me a second. Through the creation of our women's football database, we discovered that while the weight of male athletes can change a bit month to month, women's body types are different from men's and their weight fluctuates a lot more often weekly. This perspective encouraged us to review the wider game, much like we have with all other areas, and we've ultimately decided to no longer show weight for any players in FM25. A very basic measurement will still be included under the hood, but it won't be visible on the front end anymore. I'm going to say something very, very blunt. I've always been taught as an adult not to say anything about a woman's weight. I think that they've taken a very chivalrous option here, where they've decided that they shouldn't be they shouldn't be advertising women's weights. It's one thing to mention about males' weights from professional part, but women kind of don't take criticism away very well. I'm gonna straight say it, but yeah, it's. I think it's just simply that it feels to me like they're just being polite. Mind you, taking out the players' weights, Eden Hazard must be sat at home seething right now. But yeah, I can understand why they don't. I don't completely agree with it, because I think in the interest of fairity, and because there are attributes that can be made to weight. Obviously, things with like getting a big man up top, are they just going to be taller? They're going to be tall and tall and wide. But I can see why they've done it, simply to kind of take that. I mean, I personally feel like it's a more sensitive approach they've taken, because they don't want to get dragged into the sort of thing you see a lot online nowadays, where a lot of certain groups are going to be very angry at them for perceived slights. No, said it. I think part of the reason they've done it is to be polite, so that nobody gets angry about them for fat shaming women. No, I said it. But I don't know. We'll have to see how that goes. I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be unhappy from a case of. I don't want to say about trying to sound rude. But yeah, screw it. Yeah, I think they've just done it to be polite. They don't want to get dragged into anything that can be seen as unsightly. But I mean, I'd never really. It's not something I focused on. And if you can peek under the hood, I'm sure the people who could dig through that sort of data will find it. We also announced in June that we'd be welcoming FMFC members within a reasonable travel vicinity to come to our campus in London and help with playtesting the new UI UX. Yeah, I'm not part of FMFC, so this really isn't part of my thing. Should be any development. Yeah, so they're obviously going to make the game bigger, and they're going to try and put more in the game, starting for FM25. Right, main point I'm going to bring up. I think it's better that they use it for late November, because it's better to make sure the game is in the best condition it can be. We've seen a lot in the video games industry as a whole, where projects get rushed, things get brought out early, or round about the deadline they set, when it is very evidently not finished yet. Or in the case of No Man's Sky, where there's not anything to begin with. But that's here or there. But the gaming industry is littered of stories where people have tried to rush things out for deadlines, and as a result, you end up with a complete and utter, basically an appalling mess, because something is blatantly not finished. I would rather they take the time and make it great. It does benefit me in some way. It gives me more time to actually set up the area where I'm going to record. It gives me more time before I have to go to my boss, and say, hey, I need a couple of days off. And it gives me more time to establish a couple of things. Give me just a second. Okay, so whilst I was considering what I can do for my channel, one of the things I decided to do was to grab a sort of a collection of football paraphernalia. So I went looking for something that was relatively easy to pick up and a place you can do it. So I came across a site called Whatnot. It's effectively an auction website, an online auction house, where you can bid on literally anything, from stuffed toys to even collectible football cards. So I found a couple of sellers. There are quite a few, but for now we'll just focus on two. The one is called Will Sports Cards, and the other is called simply as Stag Cards. They have been very helpful in helping me acquire a veritable collection of football trading cards. So, for instance, off of Will Sports Cards, I got this. It's a Prism collection, Christian Norgard of Brentford. Now, I don't know a lot about this sort of thing, but I do know that they have what's called numbered cards. So, on the back of this one, this is number 2 of 5. What I believe that means, and I'm sure I will probably get cross-reference on this, that there are only 5 of these cards available, and I've got the registered number 2. This is, I think that's fairly rare. I really should look this stuff up. But I would like to extend thank you to Will Sports Cards for that. And I will also recommend Simply Stack Cards. There are also some other sellers that I will mention when their delivery, when the cards they've sent me get here. One of them is supposed to be arriving today. It is fucking late. Thank you, Royal Mail. But eventually you will see an ever-rotating collection of cards out of a, well, hopefully a glass display case or just on top of a shelf somewhere, that will be ever present in all of the videos. And on top of that, they will also be taking part in some of the videos, particularly the one season wonders. I have already planned my beta save. I already know what I'm going to do for a main save, and I've already planned the first 5 or 6 one season wonders. I will say that my FM24 beta one season wonder will be centered around AS Roma, and one of the cards I have sent will play a part in that, because that is one of the key things they're going to be used for. So, with all that in mind, I will leave a link to Will's Sports Cards and Simply Stack Cards in the description, or at least their Whatnot profiles. Do check out Whatnot as a whole. I am also on there, but I will not be selling anything. It's not really my thing. I'm mostly a YouTube guy. And do feel free to check out the streams that both Will Sports Cards and Simply Stag do. I'll be mentioning more of the sellers when I boot up my channel. Um, as I am still waiting on some of the cards. As I said, Royal Mail has kind of screwed me over here. So, that will be fun. I will be back around about the November time. I would put up other videos, but I should also mention today Space Marine 2 was released. And as a massive 40k fan, I will obviously be playing that religiously. I am literally waiting for the game to download now. I might well put up a review of Space Marine 2 when I've kind of played a whole lot of it. I'll offer up on my thoughts on video. Otherwise, I'm basically going to be back when they first show off the gameplay, and I will be obviously doing a video about that, offering my thoughts. Otherwise, obviously, stay tuned for the FM24 beta, which I'm assuming will be early to mid-November. So yeah, there will be plenty of content to come on this channel. I thought I'd give me off my thoughts on like all the development updates with the postponement, the removal of international management, and the removal of player weights. Anyway, if you have enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like. If you want to see more, you can always subscribe. But do feel free to subscribe. We've got some big things coming up on this channel. And do check out Will Sports Cards and Simply Stag Cards on Whatnot. So, yeah, do feel free to do that. I will leave their profiles in the description. Anyway, I've been Canberra Run, and thank you for watching.